Hi, welcome to Far From Eden. If you're new here, welcome. We have a good one today. At least I think it's good. I hope you'll like it. We are going to look at a home math video. That's the name of his channel, Home Math. And the man is a genius. The way he breaks things down, the way he looks at things mathematically, it's impressive. Anyway, his latest video, I started to watch it again. I see stuff like this, I think I'm bringing it to you guys because I want to watch it with you guys and I kind of want to know what you think of it. However, here on Far From Eden, I can't talk about relationships and how what the situation is for men in family court system, with false accusations, the dating scene. There's no, where are all the women? They're at their job. They're a boss babe. They're concerned with career and all the rest of it. And they're not really thinking about, being a wife or being an actual partner that a man would want. I don't even like to use the word partner because that's the we're equal business, and we're not the same. We're not the same. Different roles are good. Anyway, so I talk about that on the channel. And it's because I don't think you can separate, at least I can't separate in my mind, the situation that we're in with relationships, how it's, look at the population in Japan. They're freaking out. They're offering like breeding visas because their birth rate is so low. And this is a country that they've always historically been Japanese and Japanese only and not interested in any other type of race. And now breeding visas? That's a crisis when the Japanese are like, you know what I mean? So it's a crisis out there worldwide. And Home Math is recognizing that, and he's gonna do what he does and break it down in a terrific way. And I think that I can definitely learn something, and hopefully I can add a little bit of a woman's reaction to where we are, where we're going, and how we got here. So without further ado, let's share screen. And let's see what he has to say. Okay.
Question, why is promiscuity bad? The answer is kind of complicated. Let's start with this. Why would promiscuous behavior, as pictured here, cause a collapse of civilization? I put together this.
I'm sorry, I'm starting back over. I don't know.
We might be stuck in a pattern of civilizational collapse, and it's because our relationships are not as strong as they used to be. This video is a long overdue answer to the question, why is promiscuity bad? The answer is kind of complicated. Let's start with this. Why would promiscuous behavior, as pictured here, cause a collapse of civilization? I put together this map. It's originally created by Ken Wilber. This is just my easy-to-read version, as a quick reference for developmental psychology, how people's minds develop individually from birth until wherever you stop, and how that affects the development of society and culture. And over here, there's this little grid that shows the individual mind and culture, and individual behavior and society. The way that people's minds work is going to form a culture. The way that culture works is going to shape society. The way that society works is going to influence your mind, and the way your mind works will influence your behavior. All these things are interrelated. So society, which we depend on for everything we have, is based on the way that we relate to each other, which is falling apart very quickly, due in large part to acceptance of promiscuous behavior. Here's a bunch of little heartbreaks and lower relationship strength. Our relationships also suffer because we don't understand each other, and that's something you can fix. And today's sponsor, Ground News, can help. You are on the internet right now, so you're confused. We all are. Algorithms make us feel bad, blame it on other people, and then attack them like idiots.
I'm gonna let his ad play because we are reacting to his video, and I think his sponsor should get even more, time. So we're just gonna let the ad play that he has, the sponsor that he has.
This is not making us smarter. We need perspective. That's why Ground News has an app and a website that shows you where your news is coming from. Ground News gives you different takes on the news all in one place, and it helps you spot potential bias. Look at this story about trans students in red states. There's a bias comparison. Ground News shows you who's reporting on it, and they even have a nice little picture. Now you can see all in one place that left-leaning outlets say that red states are challenging inclusivity, while right-leaning outlets say that they're protecting women and girls. They even have a blind spot feed with stories that are all right or all left, so you can break out of your bubble. If you want to be a free thinker with less effort, click this link in the comments or scan the QR code. You'll get 40% off the Vantage plan, which I use for unlimited access to every feature. That's ground.news/HM for 40% off the Vantage plan. Click it in the comments. If we remain unable to understand each other, we tend to do what we want instead of thinking about what's right. Basically, when people are allowed to do whatever they want, it degrades us from this stable model of courtship and relationship formation to this unstable one. In the old one, we could have stable marriages that were enforced by social conventions, and in the new one, there's a few guys who get all the attention that they can handle, and so they don't commit to women, and therefore most of the women get played and dumped over and over, and these guys get no attention, and that makes everyone unhappy, and it also is really bad for stable marriages that produce children. And this model is only possible when people believe I can do whatever I want and you can't judge me. If you allow people to behave like this, then they stop building this and it turns into this. Modern people believe that the world is made of individuals. It is actually made of relationships, in the same way that a pile of bricks is not a building. In order for the building to work, the bricks have to be arranged in a certain way, they have to be connected, and once the bricks start saying, I don't want to be part of a building anymore, I want to do me, then the building starts decaying, and then the other bricks say, well, if you're not doing your job, then I won't do my job. And we go from a building to a pile. A big part of this decay is the sexual revolution, which is actually just a decay. It's reverse development. We are going from higher levels down to lower ones. I've been over this in previous videos. This one's called Saturday Scaries. Basically, all cultures have to grow through these levels. You can't skip stages. And when a culture develops from this low impulsive stage to the rules and roles stage, they come up with strict social norms, and they eventually grow to the achiever stage, which is like corporate, keeping up with the Joneses, and eventually into this sensitive, individualistic hippie stage where people start saying, hey man, everyone's like unique and we should all do what we want, bro. And at that stage, they have a tendency to get rid of the rules at this stage, and then all of the new people who are born, because everyone's born at stage one, they don't have any rules to learn to grow up to the next stages, and it causes developmental arrest.
Okay, I had to find a place to pause. Just wanted to say, this is the quietest I've ever been when I'm reacting to a video. And I just wanted to tell you men out there, if you're like, well, what is that? This is a woman listening to a man who knows more than she does and is willing to learn what he has to say. That's what this is going on right here. And like I said, he's a genius. Also, he does describe it goes really, for my woman brain, it goes very fast, and it's very man brain way of understanding, which when you're dealing with these topics is the way you should do it. Right? And I'm going to say something controversial. And if all of this were easy for a woman, easy, I can understand it. I'm not the R word. I can understand it. But what I'm saying is, if this were second nature to a woman to understand things this way in stages and categories and all that kind of a thing, we might not be in the mess we're in. Might be able to convince women, excuse me, this is what's going on, right? Because you know what you don't see in any of home math stuff? Feelings, right? You see facts, logic, all of that. So I wanted to interrupt and explain to you why I'm not interrupting. So let's continue with I feel like I'm in class, which is wonderful.
And people get stuck down here. That's what we're experiencing right now. So this is not moving beyond the rules, it's just getting rid of them. Way back at the beginning of my channel, somebody asked me, why is promiscuity bad? I didn't even have colored pencils yet. There's the old version of the drawing. I think she thought she got me. I don't think she expected this as an answer. So this perception has become really common. And ironically, it's coming from a really high level of development. What they're saying is that we should all be allowed to do what we truly want and be who we are, and society's rules are just holding us back from our true selves. And that might be true if both you and your partner or partners are at this level.
Okay, I had to interrupt because I know of a woman who filed for divorce, and she literally said those words about society holding her back. And she didn't like society's rules, and she didn't think that we should follow what just because society says. She literally said those words out loud, and she has a PhD. I almost told you what it was in. I don't want to give away. Actually, at this point, she finds out. I really don't care. However, yeah, she has her PhD, and it's not a like a social science or anything like that. It's like a medical or technical, something like that. And she's literally said that. Good God.
But that's really, really rare. So if you are a young person growing up and you hear that message that society is just holding us back from what we really want, you're not going to hear it at this level because you are not there yet. You're going to hear that message at the level that you are on, and it's going to sound like everyone else is trying to get their own way, and so I'm going to get mine. And the more that that gets reinforced, the more you stay stuck, unable to learn the belonging and cooperation skills that are necessary to keep moving up the ladder. In other words, if you want people to develop to these higher stages, which we do, they have to learn the rules before they can break them. Like if you want to do bike tricks, you have to start with the basics. You want to be a jazz musician, start with hot cross buns. So again, this message, it's saying, why bother learning the rules before breaking them? And it's leaving a lot of people stuck. And then
wow, wait a minute. Why bother learning the rules before breaking them? I feel like that was why bother learning the rules before breaking them? You know what I think when he says this? I think of children acting out, like elementary age kids, 7, 8. I know of another woman who was an elementary school teacher. She taught, I believe, second or third grade. It was in a district that was a little bit, there were a lot of single mothers, let's just say, in this district. And she, for whatever reason, kept all the write-up slips when every time she had to write somebody up and send them to the principal. These are like second or third graders. This is 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds, maybe 9-year-olds. You know what I mean? What? And she had a stack of write-ups sending kids to the principal. Now, why would she send kids to the principal? Is she just really strict? No, they would get like physically violent with each other. And it got to the point she couldn't manage it. You know what I mean? She couldn't handle these kids and manage the rest. It was a behavioral nightmare. And that's what I'm imagining. Like they're breaking the rules before they've even learned them. They don't even know them. That is mind blowing to me. As a woman, I think automatically, I'm thinking of the kids, thinking with how this is with children. In my mind, that's what I saw. And man, there's all kinds of, YouTube videos and other social media videos with these kids just acting out, and they're violent and they're sexual, and they never even learn the rules, and they're breaking them. This is fascinating.
Stuck people will not be able to keep civilization functioning. We have known this for a long time. Back in the 12th century, some guy named Salahuddin Ayyubi, liberator of Jerusalem, that's probably debatable, but he sounds important. He said, if you want to destroy any nation without war, make adultery or nudity common in the young generation. Sound familiar? This is from a website called Muslim Skeptic, and they need your support. Apparently, relying on Allah is not working out. The Muslim world is very much concentrated at this level right now, the rules and roles level, the control of self and others through faith and discipline level, the fundamentalism level. And that's because they experienced their own collapse a few centuries ago. I just spoke to Rudyard Lynch of What If Alt Hist about this. Check out his channel. And he explained to me that history does not work like this. It's not, feminism was invented yesterday and now everyone's going to be happy forever. There really are a lot of fluctuations between feminine and masculine control of society. And if you get too far in either direction, things get bad. And the Islamic world went too far in this direction and had an overcorrection, and now they are still hanging out up here. Some of this even happened recently. This was Iran in the 70s, and so was this. They look like they're from Wisconsin. That was before the Iranian Revolution. And let's not forget Afghanistan, then and now. So this lie that the more feminist things get, the happier everyone's going to be, it just is not real life. In reality, hyper-feminization causes its own problems, and the reaction might not be fun. What are these problems caused by glorious feminist freedom? Well, as women become liberated from men, which means getting materials that men produce without having to marry them, women experience a greater ability to choose, and they no longer have to settle for someone who is exactly on her level. Women become more free to pursue somebody who might have a full dance card and might not be interested in anything long term. This matches the results we get from dating apps. Women seem not to be very interested in most men, at least not until women get to know those men. This more equitable style of pairing off is what happens in tight-knit communities.
I just want to pause and say, women don't know what they want. They think they want the Chad. They think they want the 6 foot tall. They want the income, whatever. These women are saying they want that, but they don't understand that to be with that man, there may be expectations. And if he's got this, he has options just like she has options. If she can get that, and I know that's what his chart shows, but if she can get that man, then he can get other chicks like her and use her the same way she's allowing herself to be used. They're both contributing to the problem because neither one is exhibiting any control. And like he said, then the other men are absolutely left out of it. But here's what I wanted to say. Women, when we actually like the person and want the person and fall in love, and I do that because women do not love in the same way men do. We don't love sacrificially in that way. We fall in love with the man's, you guys are not going to believe me, personality. And I don't mean, oh, he tells funny jokes. Here's a little not an analogy, a little story, right? Little short story, for example. My hobby is watching trials, right? And I was watching South Carolina trial, the Murdaugh trial. And there were these like police officers or whatever they were, forget what they were, but they all were like bearded, right? Now, they weren't handsome and they weren't necessarily tall, but they were wearing suits. They carried themselves well. They had beards. They were direct and they were, masculine like that. And I'll tell you what, the whole chat in this, where I was watching the trial online, the whole chat was falling in love with all these guys when they saw them testifying on the stand. And they just were men. They were masculine. They were direct. They were, all those things. They weren't feminine, but they weren't angry or, you know what I mean? And I was taking note of that. And I'm like, have you ever noticed like women like a man in uniform? It's that kind of a thing. It's who they are, what they do. Yes, it is. That's biological because we're weaker. We look for protection and stuff like that. And when we see that, we respond to it. So the idea that a woman ever thought she was going to look at a picture of a dude and read a little write up on a dating app and know that she's interested, it's just not the case. You know what I mean? It's just not the case. They are collecting Chads and Tyrones to feel like they have status, to feel like they are worthy, to feel like, oh well, he wanted me, therefore I'm this or I'm that. And he might just be like, you were there. You know what I mean? And he doesn't want you for a wife. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. But these women don't know that. They have no idea. They think it means they're valuable. They think if Chad wants them, then that means something. And it doesn't.
But those tight-knit communities come from living at this level, where the mentality is to do what is right in order to get what is good in life. Nobody wants to do that anymore. They'd rather do what they want. People who live at this level look Amish to us now. We are therefore no longer bound together. It's every man for himself. And when people do what they want, that's level 3 here, instead of doing what their community wants for them, doing what is right according to the rules and roles of your culture, people no longer form or remain in these stable and equitable relationships because there's no social or cultural pressure to do so. It takes a village. They just go, I'm not happy, because everyone's going to be not happy at some point in a relationship, and you need something to keep you together. Without that, people just bail out into this mess where there's no social or cultural oversight. And when that happens, when nobody is keeping your relationship together, then everybody tries to just do the best that they can, and that gives very lopsided results.
Isn't it funny when everybody's trying to do the best they can and it's not really best for them? It's really not good for them. And when people do what they want because they think it's going to make them happy, people are miserable. I bet that blows the mind of secular people. I don't know. Maybe I haven't watched enough of Homath to know if there's any kind of Christianity or anything. But you guys know, if you've watched my videos, I am a Christian and not a fundamentalist. You know, I do believe that men and women are compatible, and it's a beautiful thing. And the thing about Christian men and what they've shown is that when they are in charge, they still listen to the women. You know what I mean? When the women are in their place is effective. It shapes the family. She has a lot of say through her family, through her children, so much more empowerment than going and getting your PhD and thinking you're something because you have a career. You answer to a boss. It's ridiculous. What kind of power do you have there? Really? Really? You think Thomas Jefferson's mother didn't have any kind of say? You think Thomas Jefferson's wife didn't have any kind of say? I just picked a name. But seriously, good men listen to their wives. I don't mean they obey them. In our society, listen means obey. They listen and they consider because they value what she has to say. And that means that her views and everything. That's why before we had the vote. Christian men want their women to be happy. And they do a really good job of it. They did a really good job. And all these, women were so abused back then. That's a lie. It's a lie. Anyway, back to Homath.
Because men who are very high in demand will often sleep with women who are not very high in demand. And It just doesn't work the other way around. Like Taylor Swift is not out here picking up guys who work at McDonald's. So promiscuity is bad because it means do what I want, and doing what you.
Sorry. What do Satanists do? Do as thou wilt. It's the same. Do as thou wilt. Right there. You should put that on his chart. Do as thou wilt. Nope.
You want means that nobody has any say over whether or not you stay in your marriage but you. So as soon as it feels bad, you're going to leave and you're going to jump into this disaster where you're going to go look for the best you can get, and you're going to convince yourself that this guy almost married you even though he would never be seen with you in public. And then you're going to get your heart broken so many times that you're just going to start hating men, and you're going to go, all men are the same, all men, even though you're only talking about these men. And these men down here are so completely detached from society and hopeless that they don't have any reason to contribute to society at all. And then everything falls apart because nobody is building. So in terms of development, these people, who are a small percentage of the population but tend to be very powerful because they're smarter and richer, they're saying we should be allowed to do what we want as long as we don't hurt anyone. And that message is heard by these people as we should be allowed to do what we want.
There it is. There's where the libertarian idea, liberalism, classic liberalism, and I used to, oh my gosh, I used to think that way. Even as a Christian, I can't even, now I'm like, oh my gosh, what did we do? We did that, what he just said. We said, hey, as long as it's in your bedroom, right? Hey, as long as what two people do in the privacy of their own home, what adults, what consenting adults do, and I'm not talking about just the rainbow people, I'm talking about all the promiscuity in general. And we said, hey, who am I to judge? And he's right. The people down there at number 3 took that as a green light. And now it's Rainbow Month. And they're in the streets. And there are children there. I don't know why. Well, now that I'm reading those fairy tales on Sunday, Grimm Brothers fairy tales on Sunday, I'm like, I know why I didn't see it. Because the theme in so many of those fairy tales is that women are a real problem discerning. And we do. We're not so good at knowing which men are the bad men. We really aren't. We fall for, sweet talkers, and we it's the camel's nose. The camel's nose was in the tent, and we realized, okay, he's just sniffing. The next thing you know, the camel's in there. The whole zoo is in the tent at this point. The whole zoo is in the tent. We let the camel's nose in, and now the whole zoo's in the tent. And it's destroying families.
And they don't hear the second part. And that leaves more and more people stuck down here, unable to ever learn how to not make everything about themselves. And that is a bad thing. So it's not controversial to say that promiscuity is increasing. What is controversial is how much and why it matters. But all the bad things you would expect to see are there. The birth rate is dismal. People are getting married later than ever. Rudyard told me that once that number reaches 28, it's bad news. So we might be stuck. The increase in single motherhood is not good for children. We've known that for a long time. And psychiatric medication rates are spiking amid ongoing uncertainty. Again, I'm pretty certain that it is the breakdown of society. When you switch from this to this, all of these guys and pretty much all women become less happy, and the only winners are just these guys up here who have all the options in the world, which is...
Are they happy? Are those guys at the top really happy? I'm literally asking you guys. I know they're getting a lot of chicks, but isn't it empty? Or can they actually think, no, this is great? Maybe they're the bad guys. Maybe they're, do as thou wilt, and they're just like, smoking as Andrew Tate. I guess maybe I'm answering my own question. Maybe Maybe some people are just happy doing bad. It's really hard for me to accept that you could be doing bad things and actually really be happy, when, say, you're alone or you're not distracted. You really happy? Are the men really happy? I know the women are not happy. Are those men that are the Chads and Tyrones happy? I don't know.
It's kind of funny because over here the whole feminism thing was like, men are winning, let's switch to this. Now it's just less men winning. So once again, in short, these people at this level, the sensitive individualist types, they wanted to move beyond the rules and live their best lives. And they were foolish enough to believe that everybody could do that, which is false. They can't. So instead of working within the rules, they just got rid of them. And when you do that, everything collapses. So what is the solution? Well, we have to get away from this model where people do what feels good in the moment and back to this model where people make decisions that are good for them and the long term and good for their communities. But how are we going to do that if everybody is still stuck down here? We don't have any structure anymore. All of the messaging coming from media and universities and culture, it's all saying you are a special, unique individual and nobody should be able to tell you what to do. And so nobody is learning the basics of how to be a part of something that works. It's me, me, me. That's what's killing us. Now, on the other hand, China has actually increased its marriage rate for the first time in 9 years. How did they manage that? Well, the government has been campaigning to promote marriage. What does that look like? Well, I'm not sure, but I know what it doesn't look like. I have referred to this.
Well, China is already communist. Their people are on board with their society. Their people are not Christian. Government is the ruler, like the ruler, right? That's not here. Anyway, I'm going to let him talk, or I could. Anyway, it's a very different thing. It's a very different thing.
Phenomenon of women going after guys who won't commit as being stuck on her highest setting. It's also called being an alpha widow. It's when she remembers one guy forever who no one else can ever measure up to, and she dreams of being with him even though he's not coming back. Cultivating that attitude is central to this collapse. So I'm going to finish my point with just a few examples of what this does to the minds of Western women. Yes, even grandma. These are all just TikToks that I collected over time. They were all very popular. This is what women are saying to each other. Here we go. Celebrity crush. She says, all that work and what did it get me? Because she pulled her celebrity crush and doesn't like regular people anymore. So she pulled her celebrity crush, but could not keep him because she's not at his level. And now that is her new highest setting. He's all she can think about, and normal guys don't do it anymore. For more information, watch Pull. Here's another. She's singing Gotta Whisper 'Cause I Can't Be Too Loud. She says this even though she posted it to the internet. She knows she's gonna drunk call the guy she really wants at her bachelorette party. I made this video a while back about a guy who proposed to a girl twice, and she said no twice, but she still wanted to be with him. And he got frustrated and said, what is she waiting for? And the answer was probably another guy who she wanted to come back and replace this one. Even though he was never going to do that. And she already knows this is her in 10 years at her bachelorette party. Here's a girl who has to say goodbye to her type because she wants to be treated like a princess. So in order to get out of this area and into this area, she knows she has to settle for less, even though this guy is not her type. Here's another marriage one. She's planning to leave a man at the altar if her old buddy comes back. This one's harsh. Something she's not ashamed of is she will always choose her ex-situationship over anyone that thinks they have me. That is brutal. She would drive 2 hours to see him and can't commit to a good guy.
They pair bonded with some of these men they've pair bonded with, especially if it's one from way back in the day. Sorry. Some of these women have pair bonded, and that's why they're stuck on them. Other times, they think for some reason that's their level because, whatever. But that guy didn't, like he said, they didn't wife you up. So guess what? That's not your level. But women have to hold on to, they find, you know what? Women find their value in a man. And usually it's when you're pouring into and serving your husband and your children, you find your value. But it has been perverted, and I don't mean sexually, it's just been twisted. And women are finding their value in men by thinking, if I have this guy who's, over 6 feet tall, he's in demand, I have found my value. I keep finding these things where it's like how God made us, and it's how God made us, but it's been twisted, and it's like that. Whoa, yeah, women find their value in a man, all right. They're just doing it wrong, and they're unhappy.
Because of him. You should be ashamed of that. Here's a girl skipping through the snow who's single but not really because she's loyal to the guy who won't text her back because he has better options. Same drawings over and over. Let's speed this up. On my way to engagement party, thinking of my ex, running back to a man who hurt her before. Ha 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 ha, wee! How could the known player have played me too? I'm so shocked. Forcing herself to go out with a good guy while waiting for the toxic one.
Almost all girls have that one guy that no matter what, if he were to text her at any point, she would be like, yes, let's be together. Like there's always that one guy. I don't know, it's either history or like he just is everything she wants, and they're probably not together and they probably don't even chit chat. But the minute that he texts her, she's like, yeah, of course. I would leave anyone for him.
I was talking to my therapist about my man who's not my man but is my man, and she's like, okay, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but can I see a picture of him? And she pauses and goes, okay, I get it, I see why we're in this situation. She starts like cracking up and she's like, he's really hot. I'm like, I know. Score.
No, not a score. That most therapists, well, let's just say, are the therapists doing their job? Most of these women have therapists. Are they getting better? Are they doing any introspection? Are they reflecting on themselves? No. And I've been to therapists. I even made a video of it. I've been to like several therapists. People say, I should be in therapy because of my multiple sclerosis. Like you should have therapists who can help deal with it. And it's just, all they do is validate you. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be told everything I think and do and everything is wonderful and I'm right where I need to be and all that. I'm like, no, because that might not be true. Like, how can I trust a person that's just telling me all these positive things? It just wants me to feel good. No, I'll feel good when I do better and am better. Anyway, okay, let's see what this blondie has to say.
We all have that one like situationship. It wasn't even someone we dated, but it's like a situationship that we now compare everyone else to. And I mean that in a sense of like, you had a situationship with someone, like you bonded so well, you never actually dated, you guys never actually had a title or anything, but like they changed how you view romantic partners. And so now it's like you talk to someone new and it's like, yeah, but they're not blank. They're not them. They're not this. They're not that. And you don't even mean to do it, but it's just like, it naturally, like you naturally just think like, damn, like no one can compare.
Right. No one who wants you can compare to men who don't want you. And in case you're hoping they grow out of it, just read that. And in case you're gonna say not all women are like that, I love my guesses and feelings. May I refer you to the movie Titanic? Nothing on Earth could come between them except for temperature. If you haven't seen Titanic, here's a timeline. It's about an old lady on her deathbed who had a long, full life with kids, grandkids, marriage, all the stuff. And all that she can talk about is the one time that a homeless guy They're on a boat. Box office smash. Do you see this blue line? That's Titanic. It beat Avatar. It beat Jurassic World. I don't know why that's there. But you see how these lines kind of die out and this one keeps going? That's how much women love the guy who is never coming back. They prefer him to the guy who proposed twice. I have been the guy who's never coming back. There are girls I could have called whenever I wanted. I didn't want to, and that is what they do not understand. They think we almost got married. No, you didn't. You were either forgettable or for now. That's where this diagram comes from. They all think that they almost got this guy, and that's why they don't want to settle for someone exactly like them. And that is what happens when you let people do what they want instead of making them do what is right. Prioritizing your selfish lower urges, what do I want, causes social decay. It's as simple as that.
Wow. Gotta stop this. I don't want to cancel. No, sorry. No.
So I want to talk about something that's been
Trying to
really
pause it. Okay, I didn't want to go into a second video. Not today. My brain is full of information. So let me stop sharing screen here. I can figure out what I'm doing. Oops, sorry. There we go. Hello. Wow. Right. Now, he stressed that we need to do what is right, but he didn't talk about how we know what is right. And that's one of the things that I don't see. And maybe I mean, there's a lot of content. If there's content out there that says this, please tell me about it. That's the thing though. What is right? What is right? How do you know? Is it just functionality? Because this is what works. I don't think that is enough to hold people together. I think that's part of how we fell apart, because we went from knowing what is right and wrong. And when I say we, I mean the United States as a Christian country. We went to knowing what is right because it's in the Bible, and we knew, right? We knew marriage was right. We knew promiscuity was bad. And we knew because it's in the book. And now we can actually see what he was showing. But what happened was we got disconnected from where we know, how we know what is right and what is wrong. We started to think, oh yeah, because we went, okay, it's because God said, right? And then it went to, oh, because this is what works. This is what society does. And because we went down to there where it wasn't connected to God and people didn't readily know and associate it with God, it was just like, oh, we just know what's right and wrong. That's how it can get dismantled, because people can go, well, I mean, who says? And you get to moral relativism. It has to come from a higher place. That is what it seems to me. And so at the end of the day, I agree with Homath, but I also think that the answer is we need to return to why we knew and how we knew what was right. Because that's the glue, right? That's the cement in between the bricks. Because it's all well and good for those bricks to be part of that building. But if it's not cemented in, if there's not cement in between everything, then the bricks go, yeah, I think that Christ is the cement that holds the bricks together in the building. Because it's the thing that when you go and you tell somebody else, which you shouldn't, the problem with your marriage or whatever, then rather than say to you, you should just walk away if you're not happy, blah, 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 that wouldn't even cross their mind. Because everyone would understand that you shouldn't do that. It's because God knows what's best for you. That might seem like an oversimplification, but it's something that worked for hundreds of years. So that oversimplification, pretty powerful. Sometimes things are simple, honestly. Sometimes they're simple. And I think people get freaked out, and I think the propaganda has been, oh, Christian fundamentalism is going to be the same as, Muslim fund. It's not. When a society is Christian, it looks like the United States before all this wokeism in the 20th century and some in the 19th century. When Christian fundamentalism, whatever that even is, right? Because it's not a thing. It's not how we behave. You know why? Because that's not biblical. So they like to scare people. And some of you may have already turned off the video because you're like, oh, she wants everybody in burqas. We don't do that. That's not what we do. That's not what we do. Christian men, when they're doing their Christian thing, are not tyrants. It's not a thing. So show me, what was a Christian fundamentalist society, somewhere? Are you going to talk about like the Spanish Inquisition? That's a Catholic thing. I'm talking about Protestant, Orthodox type. When were they demanding and overbearing and all of that? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so. Anyway, oh my gosh, you guys, this was I got a lot out of that. He's just so good at explaining and breaking things down. And I don't know if he gets that we've come a long way from God's idea and God's design. He obviously doesn't think that Muslim, nations are doing a good job and are, obviously can be fundamentalists. But the only way Christianity could become like that is if it were hijacked. Because that's not Christianity. Anyway, I hope you've done something today to feed your souls. I went to the barn today and got to meet a couple of young ladies that I hadn't met yet that I'm going to be helping to coach this year with their riding horses. And so that was fun. I'm tired from that. It's warm today, so yeah, it's warm. But it was nice because it's kind of a drive. It's like a 40-minute drive. It's just beautiful countryside. I'm just looking at, the countryside and the livestock. And it's just beautiful because sometimes you look out where I live and you're like, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know all the things that are going on. You would think that it could be 100 years ago. And I love that. And that fed my soul today. My cup runneth over today. And I was able to, walk through the grass and handle the heat. And I didn't have neurological symptoms. And I'm grateful for that. So it was a good day. And glad to be here with you guys. And hopefully you have found some peace today. And I want you to take care of yourselves. I love you. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.